Americans can now raise money by selling securities. Do you recall how Ontario sold Hydro One? There's no discussion here. And in combination with the wording for the infrastructure, the budget bill raises at least a legitimate question if this is signaling the government's intent to sell or long-term lease our airports. Or let's say private investors step in to help finance that recently announced high-speed rail line between Windsor and Toronto. How are we as taxpayers going to share both the risks and the rewards of an asset that would be both publicly and privately owned? And if this all ends up raising our ticket prices and user fees, who benefits from that increased price? The investors or us? Because we're paying more, but then we're recycling that money to fund new infrastructure. Just long story short, it's not clear what problem this bank is solving that a whopping $180 billion in federal infrastructure funds can't address. We just all deserve a lot more clarity.
What do you think, just briefly, what do you think happens next?
Well, today's going to be fascinating, Matt, because Morneau actually is appearing before a Senate committee. And today is the day that this motion to debate whether the Senate should split the budget bill to study the infrastructure bank either lives or dies. Now, if it goes ahead, the fight about what this infrastructure bank could be and whether it should be vetted or stopped could go on well into July. But one way or another, all of us should be demanding to know more about what we're getting out of that bank that we're being asked to give $15 billion to in a process that is also going to lever plenty of profits for investors. So I say stay tuned and ask questions.
We will stay tuned, and we appreciate you asking questions. Armin, thank you.
Thank you.
Armin Nilisian, business commentator on Metro Morning. It is 9 minutes before 7 on CBC Radio 1. Up next, a conversation with a doctor about doctor-assisted death and moral and religious obligations, or opposition to it, and what their obligations as a physician means when they have those concerns around the practice and the policy of doctor-assisted death. More on that to come. First, here's Jennifer.
Toronto-bound QEW builds up partway over the Burlington Skyway to the North Shore exit, filling in again at Guelph Line through Appleby, and then southbound off and on to Cawthra. Eastbound Gardner, you're looking at slow patches after the Humber Bridge through Jameson and Strawn. Westbound side of the Gardner is working well.
It is 17 degrees right now. High today of 24, 60% chance of showers. Later on this morning, maybe a thunderstorm as well into this afternoon. Rain could start around 10:30 or so. Otherwise, mix of sun and cloud. It warms up tomorrow to about 29. It's the third day of hearings for Ontario's doctors fighting a provincial policy on medically assisted death. Right now, if a doctor has a moral or religious objection to helping a patient who wants to end her or his life, the doctor must refer the patient to someone who can help them. That's a problem for many doctors, and they say a referral makes them part of this process. One of those doctors is Dr. Mark D'Souza. He is an emergency room physician. He is a board director with Concerned Ontario Doctors. He was a palliative care doctor, but stopped accepting new palliative care patients because of this referral process. He's with me in studio now. Doctor, good morning.
Good morning. Great to be here.
It's great to have you here. What is your objection to the policy that exists right now, that if you have a moral or religious problem with helping a patient who wants to end their life, that you have to refer them to a doctor who can help them?
I have an objection on multiple levels here. So first of all, personal beliefs, I am Roman Catholic, and, it is against my beliefs, euthanasia. I don't judge anyone else, but I don't want to be judged myself. The other part of the objection is from, I don't believe that we should be told not only what to do, but what to believe in. And then I think from the practical perspective, I object because this is the only place in the world where you have this conflict between conscience rights and access to a service.
And so how has this affected your practice? I said that you were a palliative care doctor who stopped accepting new patients in palliative care because of that. Is that accurate?
That's absolutely accurate. So back in March, when the government was talking about Bill 84, which was the euthanasia bill for Ontario, once I realized that conscience rights were not protected, I presented to the Standing Committee of Parliament. I said, that is it. I'm not accepting any more new patients until I know conscience rights are protected. So,
why are you using the word euthanasia?
Well, I'll use whatever. What word would you like?
No, but there's a very specific word that you're using. I mean, it's not doctor-assisted death. You're calling it euthanasia. And there's doctors who have said that there's daylight between those two definitions. Why do you choose that word?
I guess on some level, I object to the kind of cute name that the government's assigned this has been made. But if you prefer, I can.
No, I'm just asking from your own perspective. You see this as euthanasia.
In the broad scheme of things, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
And so, how you refuse to help a patient end their life, but you're refusing to provide a referral to another doctor who would be able to do that. How does that, do you think, make you complicit in this process?
Yeah, a lot of people don't understand that, but for many of us that do object, it's tantamount to indirect participation. I guess you can say some people think it's the same. For me personally, I don't think it's the same magnitude, but it's just it's signing off on something where I don't really agree with the process.
And so, if a patient says to you, "I want a doctor. I'm looking for a doctor to help me end my life. You're not going to do it. I want you to make this referral." What do you say to them?
I would say, I've ended my practice, but given the situation now where there's a centralized referral access, I would say here's the phone number you or your family member can call.
And so you're not making the call yourself. You turn it on.
But however, I'm not obstructing. So if the doctor who takes over, who is pro-euthanasia and going to do the service or evaluate the patient, they can talk to me. I'll transfer charts. I'll talk to them, but I'm not making the call myself.
What do you want governing bodies to do, given the situation that you find yourself in?
Get in line with the rest of the world and the rest of the country.
But what does that mean?
That means remove this conflict, remove the obligation to have an effective referral, especially in the context that there's a centralized access now.
What is, you said that as a Roman Catholic, this is kind of at the basis of your objection. What does your faith have to do with your role as a doctor?
Well, at one level, my faith really obliges me to put the patient first, and I really want to, I feel like I'm doing God's work, to be honest, me as a doctor, and especially in palliative care. I'm there to help them with their symptoms and give them. It's been very, very, very meaningful work for me.
And so, that basis, doing God's work, how does that? Do you believe, how is that affected if you are involved in this process of somebody seeking a doctor-assisted death?
I don't think it's effective at all if you remove the requirement of effective referral, because they have the access with the centralized referral. I'm not obstructing anything. It's just, this is more about telling me what I have to do and having me be okay with it.
Why do you think that personal value should have anything to do with publicly funded healthcare?
And maybe for some issues they don't, especially if they restrict access. But in this case, I don't see how it restricts access when there's that, when they can get the ball rolling themselves.
But you are providing some sort of obstacle. You're not involved in this. You give them the number they have to call. As a doctor, you say, I'm not going to call, I'm not going to do this. So why should anything that has to do with your faith have any role at all in a system that's funded by the public?
Again, I don't see how that's an obstacle if the patients can access it themselves. For example, if you want to see a cardiologist and the obstacle is having to come see me first for the referral, there's now a direct access model. Suddenly, magically, boom, now you can contact the cardiologist. It actually increases access this way. I'm the obstacle because you got to come and see me first. We're removing this.
The College of Physicians and Surgeons says that the policy that exists right now balances the rights of patients while acknowledging and taking into consideration the beliefs of physicians like yourself, and that refusing certain services can cause harm to patients by making them feel stigmatized by their doctor's views. Do you think you're harming patients in what you're doing?
I think I'm harming patients if I kill them. At a superficial level. No, I don't think I'm harming patients by objecting. I think they're harming patients by making it more difficult for me to practice out of love instead I practice out of fear, or I've removed myself from the situation.
What will you do? We only have a few seconds left, but what would you do if the challenge is unsuccessful?
Oh, what I'm doing now, which is I still have one patient I'm caring for. When she dies, I will cease to practice palliative care immediately, and I work exclusively in the ER.
It's really great to have you here. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Dr. Mark D'Souza is an emergency room physician, was a palliative care doctor, as you heard, stopped accepting new patients because of the referral process around doctor-assisted death. He and others are involved in a legal challenge launched against this province. The Superior Court is hearing more arguments today. We'd love to hear from you on this. Call the Vox Box, 416-205-5807.
On Bloor Street, watch out for a broken water main east of church.
It's 17 degrees, cloudy right now. You can expect a high of 24 today. This is CBC.